Jamie O'Hara claims that Newcastle United, wait for this ladies and gentlemen, are holding Alexander Isak to ransom. Oh my God. Hi everybody, welcome back to the Toon Review. This is your latest Newcastle United news video. My name's Paul, thank you again for watching. Unbelievable comments from Jamie O'Hara on Sky this morning, claiming that the club are holding Alexander Isak to ransom. Now, he said the same about Vissa. However, there is no way on this planet that Newcastle United are holding anybody to ransom. We have valued Isak at £150 million, and this is what some people don't seem to be getting through their heads. That is our valuation of our player, which we are entitled to have and entitled to give to the rest of the football world. Say, right, if you want our player, that is what you need to stump up. That is what he's worth. You know, if Brentford had turned around and saying this is worth £60 million, then Isak is easily double or treble that. But we've set it at £150 million and Liverpool haven't stumped up the money. So how on earth are Newcastle United holding a player ransom? He then goes on to talk about, from a player's perspective, that he wants to fulfil his needs as a player, to win trophies, to be in the top competitions, etc. Well, he's in the top competition this year. He's in the Premier League, he's in the Champions League. You know, two of the pinnacle of European football. He's playing in them, if he wants to. But unfortunately, he doesn't want to play for Newcastle United. And he wants to move to Liverpool. Listen, I don't have a problem with any players having aspirations and goals in their career. Of course, if you're a sportsman, if you're anybody in life, you want to achieve certain goals. You want to do things with your career that you're successful for. And you can look back when you finished it all and say, yeah, been there and did it, and I'm proud of what I've achieved. No problem with that at all. However, these players, they need to be professional. And we've talked about this a million times on this show, how much we dislike the professionalism that Alexander Isak has shown. And whether his agents or his reps have been feeding him information or do this, do that, he is old enough to make his own decisions, which we've also covered. But Jamie O'Hara seems to forget that being a Tottenham fan a few years ago, he went on live TV, which is also now being shown on social media, with him looking a bit of a fool, to be honest, turning around and saying Tottenham Hotspur need to do all they can to hang on to Harry Kane. Now, what is the difference here? Newcastle United, Eddie Howe has spoken many, many times saying that we want to keep Isak. He wants Isak to play, he wants him back in training. He's said it numerous times. Now, whether that's his full belief behind the scenes, it's a different story. It doesn't matter. But what he said to the cameras is that we want to keep him. So what is the difference, O'Hara, between that and Harry Kane? You know, you weren't saying, oh, Tottenham need to let him go. We're holding Harry Kane to ransom. None of that. No. They needed to hold on to Harry Kane for all they were worth, which is what Newcastle United are doing. Except we have set a price. There is a price there for Alexander Isak to move on, but nobody wants to meet that price. And he's contracted for another 3 years at Newcastle United. If he was that bothered about his career, why on earth did he not put a release clause in and sign a long-term deal with Newcastle United? It's unbelievable. And this is the kind of crap that we've had to deal with all summer. However, what I am seeing is a lot more of the Liverpool legends coming out and hammering Isak, and also questioning if if Liverpool, in a couple of years' time, and we've said this as well, he wants to move to Madrid. Does he do the same with Liverpool? Can you trust this kind of player? And that's a bit what we were talking about on the show this morning, on the breakfast show, about Vissa. The situation's a little bit different with Vissa. However, are we still going to welcome a player who is doing childish things behind the scenes, like deleting all his Instagram stuff? And that's why we were talking about it in the show this morning, because I wanted to find out where you guys stood on it. But for O'Hara to come out with that crap is just typical of somebody who is trying to make a living on TalkSPORT and spouting crap all the time. That's all it is. It's crap. It's a mouthpiece to spurt more bollocks. It's ridiculous. And I understand players have needs and players have wants in their career and they want to win things. But this is Newcastle United. We have an opportunity to win things. But the fee is set. And if nobody meets that fee, he stays a Newcastle United player. It's as simple as that. And he has to realise that. O'Hara has to realise that. Isak, who probably already does realise that, and he's getting himself into a little bit of a sticky situation with all of this. Anyway, with regards to Newcastle's onward search for a striker, no further news than what there was this morning, really. Obviously, there's more players being linked. Strand Larsen, Ramos, Visser, of course, Jackson, and Samu. But I read Craig Hope this morning said that Samu, Newcastle United have had a very sort of brief look at him, but there is nothing at all to say that Newcastle United are actually interested in going to sign Samu. So I would probably take him off the table right now. But again, time is moving on, and I guess we're not hearing anything quick enough. The Visser situation, I don't know how that's going to pan out. We're certainly not going to pay 60 million quid for him. I've seen a few people online this morning saying, look, we're at a time now where we need to just pay and get the player in. I disagree. We're paying £60 million for Visser when that is far too much money, and Brentford have moved the goalposts, completely moved the goalposts with that one. Ramos has said that he's happy at PSG. It just seems like we're running out of options. The Strand Larsen one for me seems like that could be a possibility because, I've looked at reports this morning said that he would be interested in a move to Newcastle, but he's not going to make a fuss about it. He's not going to put in transfer requests or anything like that. If a bid comes in and Wolves accept it, then he'll talk. That's how to deal with the situation. But as for that, it's just completely quiet again. And we might worry as time is ticking on, but again, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, guys, with regards to whoever they're trying to chase down. They might be talking to people behind the scenes. We've seen this summer that agents come out with absolute tosh. They can't wait to release in the press that Newcastle United are interested in their player, drumming up interest, getting in bids from other teams, etc., etc. So hopefully Newcastle want to address that when they approach a player or an agent and say, look, we want to keep this quiet. We want to do the negotiations behind the scenes with nobody else involved. Let's see if we can get this done. But I don't know. I don't know whether we need to start maybe looking into the Championship for a player, a Wilson replacement. Obviously, I'm not talking about an Isak replacement. But there is good strikers down there. And, sometimes it gets frowned upon. But we've seen players come through from even non-league. Look at Vardy, for instance. There is players out there that can certainly do a job. And when you're working under somebody like Eddie Howe, who has a reputation of building players' careers and making them into what they are today, i.e. Isak, etc. Joe Linton. Joe Linton's one that would turn and say that Eddie Howe saved his career at Newcastle United. Saved his career, put him in a new position, and bang. He's a monumental player in that position now. And I think that's what sort of players need to look at if they want to improve their careers. Jacob Ramsey said in his interview yesterday that he looks at the players who've really progressed well at Newcastle United and got into the England squad, and that's what Jacob Ramsey wants to do. So anybody that says Eddie Howe isn't a pull or doesn't have a reputation, I think are very wrong. Because Jacob Ramsey clearly explained that in his interview, that was one of the major factors for him signing. To play for a massive club like Newcastle and a brilliant man-to-man manager like Eddie Howe. But I don't know where we go from here, guys. It's too quiet for me. I was expecting things to really roll with a signing. Certainly a striker within early this week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We're coming to late afternoon on Tuesday now. Still very, very quiet. Certainly Newcastle won't let Isak go unless we get at least two in. And, Isak's going to look like a right plum. Not that he already does, of course. But who would you go for now? If you're Eddie Howe and you're sitting there now late on a Tuesday afternoon and you know that the transfer window is coming to a close in a couple of, less than 2 weeks' time, what do you do? Who do you look at? Who would you want in to try and make sure that we've got a bit of beef up front? Because that's what we need. We're too light. Anthony Gordon's not that beefy striker that we need who's going to cause all sorts of problems with full-backs and centre-backs. So who is it you would take? It's all a pickle at the minute, but we'll talk about it more in the live show tonight. Thank you very much for watching, folks. If you have enjoyed the video, give it a like. And, of course, if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. It is completely free. All we ask for is that you hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload like this one or any future live shows. Visit the website, of course, thetoonreview.com. That's for all your Toon Review merchandise. And, of course, please comment down below. Let me know what you think of the whole Isak debacle. What do you think of O'Hara's comments holding Isak to ransom? I think it's bloody ridiculous, but that's just typical of O'Hara. But thank you very much for watching, folks. We'll see you very soon. Take care.